Are you feeling like a zombie lately? Tired of the same old energy drinks promising the world but delivering the jitters and a crash? Look no further than Sneak Energy, your secret weapon for all your energy needs. With all natural ingredients, Sneak will give you all the energy you need to boost through your day without feeling like a lab rat on caffeine. Don't believe us? Try it yourself and see what a difference it can make to your routine. So what are you waiting for? Hit the link in the description and pick up your Sneak Starter Pack today. Now enjoy the clip. I think that ultimately you've got to look at it and say that in some ways you get what you deserve. It was a disgusting performance from Manchester United in the second half, especially as an attacking side. It just wasn't good enough. And I think that, look, for me, two things I would say is that, look, it's definitely a handball. I can't argue with that. But what I can argue with is two things. One, Luke Shaw is 100% my man of the match. Handballing it in the last minute after a flawless performance, that doesn't detract. It's not his fault that the attack was fucking cowardly in the second half. I mean, that attack in the second half for United was dreadful. I thought in the first half we didn't create chances. We didn't do enough with the chances. But second half, it was like the invisible men up front. It was a dreadful performance where the defence played very, very well throughout the game. And ultimately, they've been breached at the very, very end, which can happen. But what I would say as well is Andre Mariner is still an awful referee. Ultimately, the reason we're under pressure is because he gives a foul and a yellow card against Luke Shaw that was never a foul and never a yellow card. So, you can look at that. But ultimately, I'm not here to moan about refereeing decisions. He's not a very good referee. I think that always happens. But I think that it's just a shockingly bad performance as an attacking team in the second half. If you're going to beat Brighton or you're going to get something against Brighton, it has to be a 90-minute performance. And time again this season, we don't put in 90-minute performances. I think the defence are very unlucky, but I think as an attack, you've got nowhere to go. If Brighton score, you've got nowhere to go. Look, the penalty in the last minute's unlucky, but think about it like this. Imagine if one of Brighton's shots deflected off Dalot's knee and went in the top corner. What would we do to come back from that with 20 minutes to go or 10 minutes to go? I really think we've been unlucky not to get the point, and I think the defence deserved the point. But at the end of the day, and I said it during the game, if they score first, I think it's over. And I know there was no time to respond, but I don't think we showed any evidence that we would have responded. It was a really flat performance in the attack, even in the first half. First chance of the game, Bruno plays Anthony through. He's got to put it on target. He puts it wide. Rashford on the left-hand side shoots front post instead of across the goal. Martial has a chance, shoots front post instead of across the goal. And that was it, really. A few half chances, but nothing really easy. And we had chances where we could have played people in for better chances. The attack today was poor. And ultimately, if we concede a goal, the game's going to get lost. It is unfortunate that it's a penalty at the end. It's really unlucky for Luke because I think he is my man of the match. I thought David De Gea made a really good couple of saves as well throughout the game. The Matoma chance and obviously the one where he put it around the post through the crowd. But it is a penalty. Brighton have scored a legitimate goal. We've just not scored ourselves, and that's it. And at this level, you've got to do a lot better than that. My big issue is, and let me just read this. At the start of the season, we heard lots from Erik ten Hag about changing mentality in the squad. What would you like to hear he's doing about it now? He's got to wait till the summer, Andy. Mark, we were cowards in the second half, but God forbid, Andre Mariner cannot give that as a foul. Shaw made no contact. Sad to lose, says KB. I'm just going to say that Rashford is a stat boy like Ronaldo. 400k a week, no thank you. I'd rather sell him now while we can, says Charlie. Defensively, we were good. We are toothless in attack, says Hovis. I'm tired of just watching United defending in the second half every game, says Jeremy. I agree, Andre Mariner is an awful referee. If he was a good one, Anthony and Casemiro would have been off, says Pies. There's a few people talking about Rashford. Obviously, we'll talk about that. Absolute God says, are you worried about top four? We'll talk about that in a minute as well. So top four, Rashford. Okay. The big thing for me is, people were saying, why aren't we making any subs? He made 3 substitutions. 2 of them made us worse. When Anthony came off, I think he was, all right, it might have been a red card risk, but Sancho didn't offer anything down the right-hand side. because Sabitzer was better than Fred. Weghorst was like having 10 men. You can moan about Martial's performance, and I don't think it was fantastic, but Weghorst was like bringing me on. It was a waste of time. When he brought him on with 7 minutes to go, I was like, why? It's purely, I mean, he's just not good enough. He's just not good enough. And our substitutions consistently over the last few weeks make us worse. And the problem Ten Hag's got is he looks at his attack for 80 minutes and go, they've not been good enough. I've got to change it. He brings Weghorst and Sancho on and it gets worse. And that's the problem he's got. Rashford wasn't good enough, Martial wasn't good enough, and Anthony was a red card waiting to happen. He has to make changes. The changes he makes consistently make us worse. He doesn't have the squad. This is why we need a full sale. This is why we need a lot of money spending. Because that squad ain't good enough. And Ten Hag knows it. And I know it. And you know it. Quality, mentality, however you want to call it, that squad isn't good enough. And ultimately, I think Weghorst came on. We weren't good anyway, but Weghorst comes on and it's defence against attack for 5 minutes. And we couldn't hold on. We were just inviting the pressure second half. I thought the defence did fantastically well. De Gea had a good game. Wan-Bissaka had a good game. Lindelof had a good game. I thought Shaw was brilliant. Dalot had a good game. Beyond those 5, we'll talk about in a minute. But it was defence against attack in the second half because we just stopped being an attacking team in the second half. And that's not acceptable. And ultimately, you get what you deserve. All of a sudden, I'm hearing thousands of Scousers celebrating Luke Shaw's outstretched arm. The top 4 battle is starting to get sweaty and not in a good way, says Tim. Honestly, the first loss I put on Erik Ten Hag feels like came to draw instead of win it, says Gerg. No, I mean, Stubby says, let's blame Erik Ten Hag. He's been outclassed again by mid-team coach. We can't keep on blaming the attackers. I think that's highly offensive, mate. Mid-team, we've been outclassed by a mid-team. Brighton are one of the best teams in the league. They're one of the best teams in the league. They're not a mid-team. They're a fantastic team that if they hadn't been cheated by VAR themselves, would probably be pushing us for top 4. They should have another 6